The fluorescent lights of a 24-hour pharmacy hum overhead at 3 in the morning, and a woman in scrubs stands frozen in the checkout line, staring at the card reader as the screen flashes the word declined. Her daughter has a fever of 104 degrees. The medicine costs $47, and she does not have it. This is not a scene from a movie set in some distant, impoverished country. This is happening right now, tonight, in neighborhoods, all across the wealthiest nation ever built on the face of this earth. The United States of America, a country whose gross domestic product towers above every other economy on the planet, is hiding a secret so dark it would make your stomach turn. 43% of American adults do not have enough money saved to cover a single $1,000 emergency. Let that number sink in for a moment. That means if your car breaks down tomorrow, if your kid chips a tooth at recess, if your furnace dies in the middle of January, nearly half of the people living around you would have absolutely no way to pay for it without borrowing. According to the latest data from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, total American household debt has ballooned to $18.8 trillion, and the aggregate delinquency rate has climbed to 4.8%, the highest level in nearly a decade. Credit card balances alone now stand at $1.28 trillion, and the average household carrying a balance owes over $11,000. 65% of consumers are currently living paycheck to paycheck, meaning that once the bills are paid and the groceries are bought, there is nothing left to save. The median emergency fund balance in America has been sliced in half in just 12 months, dropping from $10,000 down to $5,000. And perhaps the most disturbing number of all is this. The top 1% of American households now controls over 31% of the entire nation's wealth, while the bottom 50% clings to barely 2.5%. Something has gone terribly structurally wrong, and in this video, we are going to pull back the curtain, peel away the polished surface, and show you what is really happening beneath the American dream. We will look at how we got here, who is profiting from this suffering, and whether there is any realistic path out of this slow-motion disaster. The first thing you need to understand is that wages in this country stopped keeping pace with the cost of living a long time ago, and the gap has only been accelerating. Picture a man named David, 42 years old, working as an electrician in Columbus, Ohio, pulling in about $55,000 a year before taxes. On paper, that sounds like a solid middle-class income, the kind of paycheck that should let a family breathe. But here is where the math gets brutal. His rent for a modest 3-bedroom apartment has climbed to $2,100 a month, eating up almost half of his take-home pay right off the top. Groceries for a family of 4 now cost over $1,200 a month, up more than 25% from where they were just 4 years ago. His health insurance premiums, even through his employer, take another $600 every single month. Then come the car payments, the electricity bill, the internet service, his kids' need for school, the gas to get to work, and the student loan payment that recently jumped after federal repayment plans were restructured. By the time David reaches the end of the month, he is not choosing between saving and spending. He is choosing between the electric bill and the grocery bill, between his daughter's school supplies and the brake pads his truck desperately needs. The inflation rate may have technically cooled from its peak in the summer of 2022, but the damage is baked in permanently because prices never actually came back down. Think of it like a staircase that only goes up. Inflation slowing does not mean prices are falling. It means prices are still climbing, just a little more slowly, and for millions of families, even that slower climb is enough to push them off the edge. The Harris poll data, published in collaboration with the Journal of Accountancy, reveals that fully 50% of Americans who set financial goals for 2026 believe the rising cost of living will prevent them from achieving those goals. 81% of those who set financial goals for 2025 admitted they failed to meet them. With rising living costs cited as the #1 reason, what we are witnessing is not a temporary pinch. It is a structural reshaping of what it means to be a working American, where earning a decent wage is no longer enough to guarantee that you can feed your family and save for the future at the same time. The social contract that once promised upward mobility in exchange for hard work has been quietly torn up and thrown in the trash. Now let us dig deeper into the machinery that makes this trap nearly impossible to escape, because it is not just about prices being high. The second engine of this crisis is the debt spiral, a cycle so vicious it might as well have been designed by a predator. When families cannot cover their expenses with income alone, they reach for the most accessible lifeline available, which is the credit card. The average interest rate on a credit card in America right now sits above 22%. And for people with less than perfect credit scores, rates of 28 or even 30% are disturbingly common. Imagine borrowing $5,000 at 25% interest and only making the minimum payment each month. That $5,000 would take you over 20 years to pay off, and you would end up paying more than $9,000 in interest alone, nearly double the original amount. This is the silent machine that is eating American families alive, one minimum payment at a time. More than 111 million. Americans are currently carrying credit card debt from month to month, trapped in a cycle of persistent balances at record-high interest rates. The Federal Reserve reports that the overall delinquency rate on consumer debt has reached 4.8%, with credit card delinquencies climbing even higher, especially among borrowers aged 18 to 29. Young adults who entered the workforce during or after the pandemic are being hit the hardest, inheriting an economy of high rents, massive student loan burdens, and wages that barely cover rent. At the same time, the cost of housing has become almost comically disconnected from what ordinary people can afford. The average monthly mortgage payment in America is now approaching $3,000, a number that would have been unthinkable just 10 years ago. For renters, the picture is no better, with the national median rent hovering above $2,000 a month and climbing in virtually every major metro area. And here is the cruel irony. The very people who are unable to save for a down payment on a home are forced to rent at inflated prices, which further prevents them from saving, which keeps them renting, round and round in an endless loop. Student loan borrowers face an additional layer of pressure. With 69% reporting, they are concerned that upcoming policy changes will increase their monthly payments and further erode their ability to save. The debt trap does not discriminate by education, by profession, or by ambition. It swallows anyone who falls behind, and in today's economy, falling behind is shockingly easy. This is not a failure of personal responsibility. It is a failure of the system itself. A machine that was built to extract wealth from the many and concentrate it in the hands of the few. Let us now step away from the data for a moment and walk through the real lived experiences of people who are drowning in this crisis, because numbers on a screen can never capture the weight of a mother crying in her car after a grocery run. Meet Sarah, a 36-year-old registered nurse in Phoenix, Arizona, who earns $68,000 a year, a salary that puts her comfortably above the national median. She has not taken a vacation in 3 years. She drives a car with 212,000 miles on the odometer because she cannot afford a new one. Her emergency fund, which she spent 5 years building up to $8,000, was wiped out in a single week when her air conditioning unit failed in the middle of a 112-degree Arizona summer, and the repair cost $7,200. Now Sarah is one flat tire away from financial disaster. And she is a nurse, someone we call a hero. Then there is Marcus, a 28-year-old software developer in Austin, Texas, pulling in $92,000 a year. By all conventional measures, Marcus should be thriving. But his rent is $2,400 a month. His student loan payment is $850, and after taxes, health insurance, and basic living expenses, he saves roughly $200 a month. At that rate, it will take him over 8 years just to accumulate a $20,000 emergency fund, and one serious medical event could erase it overnight. A 2026 civic science survey found that 76% of Americans have little to no financial safety net, with 21% of regular paycheck recipients reporting they have nothing left over after paying their bills. The Federal Reserve's own report on the economic well-being of U.S. households found that the bottom 60% of households by income fall well, short of what researchers define as a minimal quality of life. One survey respondent wrote simply that the cost of basic goods, especially groceries, is way too high, and that single sentence captures the quiet desperation of millions. Women are hit particularly hard by this crisis, with nearly half of women surveyed saying they do not have an emergency fund at all, compared to 1/3 of men. When asked what prevents them from saving more, 29% of women pointed to low income as the primary barrier. a reflection of the persistent gender pay gap that continues to shadow the American economy. These are not lazy people, and they are not irresponsible spenders. They are teachers and nurses and electricians and software developers, people who did everything they were told to do, got the education, got the job, showed up every single day, and still ended up with empty pockets at the end of the month. So where does this leave us? And is there any light at the end of this suffocating tunnel? The honest answer is that the light is very, very far away, because the forces driving this crisis are deeply embedded in the architecture of the American economy itself. The wealth gap is not an accident. It is the predictable result of decades of policy decisions that favored capital over labor, shareholders over workers, and asset owners over renters. When the stock market surges, the top 10% of Americans who own over 70% of all equities get richer. When housing prices spike, existing homeowners build wealth, while renters fall further behind. When interest rates rise, banks earn more on loans, while borrowers drown in compounding debt. Every mechanism that was supposed to create shared prosperity has been quietly rewired to funnel wealth upward. Yet there are small, stubborn signs of hope worth acknowledging. The survey data shows that more younger Americans between the ages of 18 and 24 are building emergency funds than ever before, with over 75% now reporting they have some savings set aside. 64% of Americans have made financial resolutions for this year, up from 56% the year before, suggesting a growing awareness that the system will not save you and that you must take action on your own. Financial literacy is spreading slowly but surely through online communities and content creators who strip away the jargon and speak plainly about money. But individual effort alone cannot fix a structural problem. If you are watching this video right now and you recognize yourself in these stories, know this: you are not broken. The game was rigged long before you sat down to play. The first step is understanding exactly how it was rigged, and that is what we have tried to do here today. The second step is building whatever small buffer you can, even if it is $50 a month tucked away where you will not touch it. The third step, and the hardest one of all, is demanding change from the institutions and leaders who have the power to rewrite the rules. Because until the architecture itself changes, until wages truly rise, to meet the cost of living, until housing becomes something ordinary families can afford, until education does not bury you under a mountain of debt before your career even begins, the richest country in the history of the world will keep producing the same heartbreaking paradox: a nation overflowing with wealth, where nearly half its people cannot afford a $1,000 surprise. That woman in the pharmacy at 3 in the morning, staring at the declined screen while her daughter burns with fever. She is not a statistic. She is your neighbor, your coworker, maybe even you, and she deserves better than this.